Thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon for those of you that are across the ocean. Welcome to this webinar from Startup Nation to Impact Nation, bridging the Chilean and Israeli impact innovation ecosystem. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Diana Yael Rubinstein. I'm the Chief Vision Officer of the Chile-Israel Council for Science, Technology, Innovation and Education. And we are very pleased, and not only very pleased, but also very excited to welcome you to this session, which we have co-organized with Israel's Embassy in Chile, Tech for Good Israel, in alliance with Startup Chile and the support of Bridges Israel. And when I say that we are not only pleased, but also very excited, it's because this webinar is more than a great opportunity to share good practices regarding social and impact innovation, but it is also an important milestone and a tipping point in the path of the soft landing of Tech for Good Israel in Chile and through Chile to the rest of the region. Before we move into the agenda of this session, please allow me to share with you a little bit of context regarding Chile-Israel Council's work. Chile-Israel Council is a non-for-profit organization that was created 1 year ago with the purpose of building a fruitful partnership between Chile and Israel based on an active collaboration that propels finding effective solutions to both of these countries' needs and opportunities while boosting economic development with social impact at its center. The core of the Council is based on what we know as science diplomacy, which is the use of scientific collaborations among nations to address common problems and to build constructive international partnerships. With this as a guiding principle, we have developed 6 working groups to address these challenges, which are cybersecurity, digital health, gender, water resources, impact investment, and culture and education. In line with this purpose and the fields recently mentioned, and acknowledging the growing evolution that Chile's innovation and startup ecosystem has had in the last years, which has been strongly supported by Corfo, among other actors. We are very proud to announce the collaboration with Tech for Good Israel and Startup Chile for an upcoming stage of bringing Tech for Good Israel to embed even more our startup and innovation ecosystem with social and environmental impact solutions. This collaboration takes place in the challenging moments we are living globally as a relevant path to attract capital flows to solutions that will help us bring impact to the center of our economies and will help us optimize risk, return, and impact to create a fairer and a safer world for people and the planet. This webinar is broadcasted live through the Conecta+fiiS platform, and I'm going to share with you just now the agenda of the session. We will have the opening remarks of Mrs. Marina Rosenberg, Israel's ambassador in Chile. We will enjoy Ron Grodeci from Bridges Israel's presentation regarding impact investment on the rise and the work of Bridges Israel. Then we will have Tech for Good's presentation to follow up with Microsoft for Startup with Ras Bahar, its managing director. And then we will review the growth of the impact ecosystem in Chile with Pablo Rossello, knowledge manager and from Startup Chile. Then we will have a session of Q&As for which I invite you to send your questions through the chat room. And we will address as many questions as possible during this Q&A session. So please welcome now Mrs. Marina Rosenberg, Israel's ambassador in Chile. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you very much, Yael. Good morning, Boker Tov, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to warmly welcome you to this webinar from Startup Nation to Impact Nation, where we are aiming, this time in collaboration with the Chile-Israel Council for Science, Technology, Innovation and Humanities, to continue promoting exchanges of knowledge and experiences between Chilean and Israeli entrepreneurs and investors to enhance the innovation ecosystems of both countries. In this sense, I'm very pleased to greet and congratulate my colleague and friend, Eliel Hasson, President and founder of the Chile-Israel Council, as well as Maria Teresa Ruiz, National Science Award winner and the President of the Council, Alex Horovich, the Vice President, Yael Rubinstein and Barbara Silva, Chief Vision Officer and CEO, respectively. More than ever, in a context of shared global fragility, inclusive and associative initiatives such as the Chile-Israel Council are particularly valued and necessary for building an innovative ecosystem of shared responsibility. The Council, whose recent launch was attended by Minister of Science Hendrick and the President of the University of Haifa, was born a year ago under the inspiring tide of virtuous academia, government, and the investment community, where precisely meetings of this nature allow consolidation in a bidirectional and sustainable way. A special thanks to Corfo and Startup Chile, with whom we have had the pleasure and privilege of working repeatedly in the past. And that today, thanks to a common cause and interest, which is impact investment, allows us to meet again. A few years ago, we worked together in coordination with both entities in the framework of Startup Jerusalem and Start Tel Aviv competitions, which allowed young Chilean innovators to visit Israel, share experiences with entrepreneurs from all over the world, and to launch their startups globally. Likewise, I want to welcome and thank the Israeli speakers who are accompanying us on this day, Bridges Israel, an impact investment fund that invests in Israeli companies to generate competitive financial returns and significant social impacts, and Tech for Good, an Israeli accelerator specialized in impact startups, which has become a benchmark worldwide. Thank you, Neil, Raz, for being here today and for believing in this friendship between Israel and Chile. Last but not least, I would like also to extend my gratitude to my team at the embassy for their invaluable and unconditional support in holding this meeting. Many thanks, Tatiana, Isaias. Even though Israel is a small country with 20,000 square kilometers and 9 million inhabitants, its history and its physical and human geography have led it to leadership positions in matter of creativity and innovation. Israel stands out in the number of patents registered per year, per capita penetration of computers, number of companies listed in NASDAQ, number of scientists and technicians in its workforce, number of scientific discoveries per year, creation of new startups, and much more. Today, Israel emerges as the third most innovative country in the world, according to the World Economic Forum, with the highest investment in R&D in relation to its GDP, and with the highest demographic concentration of startups in the world. However, this has not been possible only thanks to correct public policies and good corporate practices, but also to the known chutzpah, the trait of constructive audacity, so typical of Israelis, that today allows us to move from an entrepreneurial country to a country of impact, an impact nation. Indeed, approximately a third of Israeli innovation contains a stamp of social impact that without a doubt has allowed us to reach a higher level of human development, and above all, share this knowledge and learning with other countries, encouraging the development of more and better business with a deep sense of humanity and empathy. It should not surprise us that Israeli social innovations are born precisely from volunteers who began this wonderful journey in response to specific needs derived from vulnerable conditions of a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, transforming the social impact into an ethical and human obligation. For this reason today, I greet and thank once again the speakers present at this event, an encounter which I have no doubt will mark a turning point in the extensive, rewarding journey of the Chile-Israel bilateral cooperation. Because ultimately, and in the words of the great Erich Fromm, creativity requires having the courage to get rid of certainties. And today, paradoxically, when uncertainty is part of our lives, creativity with social meaning emerges as an inexhaustible and absolutely necessary source of innovative solutions for the sake of the greater human well-being. Thank you very much, and shalom.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ambassador, for this inspiring message and introduction to this session. Please let me welcome now Ron Grodeci. He's the managing partner and co-founder of Bridges Israel. Ron co-founded Bridges in 2018 with Gal Hayut and Sandrine Monsma. Prior to Bridges, Ron worked for 15 years in the private equity industry in Israel, including 10 years as co-founder and managing partner of Bereshit, a 500 million private equity and mezzanine fund focused on investments in large Israeli companies. In this capacity, Ron also served as a board member for private and publicly traded Israeli companies. And prior to his private equity career, Ron worked for operating companies, including as head of corporate finance and economics department at Partner Communications, Orange Cellular Operator. So welcome, Ron.
Thank you very much, Yael, and hello, everyone. Just let me say first that it's great to be with you today. Although I'm 13,000 kilometers away, I feel with you. I had the opportunity last year to be with my daughter in Chile. We trekked the Torres del Paine, and I traveled in many places in the world, and I can tell you it's one of the most amazing places I've been to. So it's great. So let me share a presentation we prepared. A few words on Bridges Israel. We are an impact investment fund, the first international impact investment fund operating in Israel. We are focused on investments in Israeli companies, and we look for investments in companies that generate both significant and measurable societal or environmental impact alongside strong financial returns. So no compromise on returns. We raised $80 million for impact investments. And as was said, we began to operate about 2.5 years ago. We are an independent affiliate of Bridges Fund Management, one of the global leaders in impact investments with more than $1 billion under management. They are operating for the last 18 years very successfully from the UK and lately from the US, and has a very significant institutional base of investors. A few words about our own investment strategy at Bridges Israel. So we really employ a dual investment strategy. First, we have an impact growth strategy. These are private equity investments in companies that have significant impact on underserved social economic areas within the country of Israel. With this type of impact, we generate impact locally at the place where companies are really operating. Then we also have an impact tech strategy. This is really a venture capital type of investments in technology companies that have the potential to generate large scale and positive global impact. We operate under 4 themes. One is healthier lives, future skills, sustainable planet, and stronger communities. So this is what we aim for. With regard to our portfolio, we were able to generate a portfolio of 9 companies until today. And if you see here, the first strategy, the impact growth strategy. So we have 3 investments to date. One is VEN, which is a neighborhood management company that really builds communities and services around the neighborhood, with operations already in Tel Aviv, Berlin, and New York. We have Nazid, which is a school catering business, providing healthy meals to school kids, but also employing underserved Bedouin Arab women with fair employment terms. And Abraham Hostel, which is a leading chain of hostels operating according to the principles of sustainable tourism. In our impact tech strategy, we already made 6 investments, and you will hear later from Nir and Omri about the innovative nature of Israel and the larger quantity of opportunities in this field. I will just touch on each, but then elaborate on 2 of them later on in the presentation. Hendrick, it's a new way to do drip irrigation, replacing flood irrigation in the agtech space. Candu is a monitoring solution for smart cities that allow to detect, track, and prevent pollution events in large sewage systems. XR Health developed a remote medical treatment through virtual reality. Viridix, it's a precision irrigation decision support system powered by soil moisture sensors. Econcrete, that developed a green, or I should say a blue, underwater concrete that generates positive biodiversity instead of damaging the environment. And lastly, TaylorMade, which is a financial navigation system, improving economic support for patients within the health system. So before giving you a few concrete examples, what is really impact investing? If you look at the spectrum of capital, on the far left, you see investments which are financial only. So the only objective of the investment is to generate financial returns. On the far right, you see investments with the target to generate impact only. In other words, philanthropy. However, over time, we saw that philanthropy alone is not sustainable and probably not scalable enough to deal with all the society major problems. And on the other hand, financial only investments does not capture our values as a society. From these two areas emerged the space of impact investments that is growing. Bridges Israel, as you can see at the bottom, is located in the competitive financial return side. So we believe that you should not jeopardize your financial returns, but rather optimize both risk, return, and impact. When you look at the core pillars of impact investments, we talk about intentionality and measurement. So first, we believe it's important that there is a real intention that the product or service will generate positive impact, social or environmental outcomes. Usually, these impact or outcomes are aligned with one of the Sustainable Development Goals defined by the United Nations. But we should also make sure that we measure the impact generated, determine key performance indicators for each company, report them and discuss them, because then it becomes really a managed activity. When we measure impact, we utilize the impact management project framework for measuring impact, which I really recommend to look into deeper. And we always look at what are the required outcomes, who is being impacted, how much, etc. Generally, on a global scale, we see that the impact investment market is growing rapidly. In 2019, approximately $700 billion were already invested in impact investments. It's interesting to see that 70% of this amount are investors who are seeking market rate financial returns. So they're not willing to subsidize the impact through lower financial returns. At the bottom, you see a small number out of the actual large number of active global players that are already engaged in impact investments globally. And we see this trend as growing and continuing. Now, instead of diving more into the academic side, I will try to illustrate impact investment through two investments we made and give you some more light on it. First, it's XR Health. XR Health developed an amazing virtual and augmented reality technology that provides medical treatments like physiotherapy, stress relief, pain management, and more remotely through the virtual reality hardware. The technology is improving adherence of patients to the treatment through gamification of the treatment, but it also enables to provide the treatment remotely at the home of the patient, and the caregiver, the doctor or the nurse, receives online precise data analytics and can monitor the progress of the patient. All of this is leading to improved health condition of the patient. The company already operates in the US, in Australia, and in Israel, and will gradually develop into additional geographies. And it's quite amazing to see that 77% of users see positive results of this treatment within 2 weeks of using the technology. Recently, XR Health is mentioned in many publications on the growing trend of telehealth as one of the leading examples of improving patients' health. Today, the technology is also used to fight corona in isolated departments because of the telehealth capabilities in hospitals, but it is also used for elderly care, which today are a population at risk, and they continue to receive telehealth services in the safety of their homes. Quite interesting company to follow. Second is Hendrick, another example, a fascinating example of impact investment. Hendrick developed a disruptive drip irrigation technology. Regular drip irrigation is very efficient. However, it requires significant water pressure and therefore pumps, filters, and high cost. This leads to implementation of regular drip irrigation on high-yield crops only. Commodity crops cannot afford using drip irrigation, and the result is that today, approximately 85% of irrigated land globally is still using flood irrigation like 3,000 years ago, which is completely inefficient and wastes a lot of water. Hendrick developed a unique drip unit that works on gravity only and does not need external energy source at all, reduces the price point, and therefore farmers can switch from flood irrigation to drip irrigation, saving 59% of water and increasing yield by 15%. Recently, the company also launched a new 1 acre kit solution, which is targeting the most underserved farmers globally in developing world. This is a self-installation kit for smallholder farmers, and it includes all the equipment and instructions they need in order to save a lot of water, increase their yield, and improve their position. Generally, we believe Hendrick and also XR Health are two examples of companies that have the potential for high growth, high return, but also very high and significant impact. With this, I just want to mention that the next speakers from Tech for Good are the organization to collaborate with and the best platform, I think, if you want to harness technology and generate positive impact globally. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ran, for sharing with us these insightful experiences of how impact investing can really optimize risk, return, and impact at the same time. We already have some questions that we will address then during the Q&A session. Let me introduce now to our next speakers. Omri Boral is the co-founder and CEO at Tech for Good. Tech for Good is a global organization that works with entrepreneurs, investors, corporates, and governments to capture the opportunity of addressing social and environmental challenges by using technology. Since it was founded in 2015, Tech for Good is leading and managing open innovation impact activities in joint venture with leading global players around specific social and environmental issues. Omri serves on the boards of several organizations such as World Summit Awards, the MFO Impact, and To Be Friendly. And prior to joining Tech for Good, Omri had been an active player in developing the social entrepreneurship ecosystem in Israel. Omri is going to be presenting with Nir Shimoni. Nir Shimoni is the co-founder and CEO of Tech for Good. Nir previously held senior positions at the Israeli Antitrust Authority at Cellcom and was co-founder of a fintech startup as well, among other experiences that both had. So welcome, Omri and Nir, please.
Well, thank you so much, Yael, and of course, thank you, Ron, for exaggerating with your kind words about Tech for Good. It's yet to be proven, but good afternoon here from Israel, or good morning to you, all of our friends in Chile, and the rest of the world, actually. As Diana mentioned, my name is Nir Shimoni. With me here is Omri Boral, We are both the co-founders and CEOs of Tech for Good, and we're incredibly excited to be with you this afternoon or this morning, if you'd like. And we're very excited to announce our partnership with Startup Chile today. After working for more than 6 years to build innovative impact ecosystems, we are really thrilled to begin our journey in Latin America, and even more thrilled and excited to begin this journey in Santiago. So really thank you all for attending, taking the time, and spending this morning or afternoon with us here in Israel.
So Tech for Good was built on the understanding that the world's priorities are changing in the last decade. Business and values are no longer thought of as separate. And we see this in many aspects of the economy. So corporates are merging business and innovative solutions that are generating positive impact into their core business. We see consumers that are more conscious and base their decisions on the impact and other related aspects when they decide who to buy from and what to buy. And we see investors who are looking to generate measurable and meaningful impact alongside the financial return on their investments. Understanding these global trends is what led both Nir and myself to develop Tech for Good's philosophy and approach. And Tech for Good's approach is based on one thing. It is changing mindsets. We need to look at how we embed values into the business as a way to drive profits and to enable us to scale the impact. And in order to do that, to change those mindsets, there are three main beliefs that Tech for Good's approach is built upon. So one is we no longer need to see impact or social and environmental issues as a problem. We'd rather look at them as opportunities for innovation, opportunities to address issues in a different way that can generate so many different wins to so many different players. And since this is such a huge task, there is no one organization that can do this on their own. This should be a cross-sector collaboration, which is why all of our activities are based on engaging different players from different sectors. They all bring their own perspectives, interests, and skills. And this is what really creates the added value that enables us to change how things are. And the last thing is that technology is an incredible tool that allows us not only to scale the impact or the successful solution that we've been able to develop, but also to adapt it and adjust it so that it would fit different geographies, different communities, different cultures. And this, I think, is what really delivers the incredible difference. Aside from these beliefs, we've spent the last few years developing our own unique methodology that enables us to support the organizations that we work with. And here we also have three major pillars. So one is to help organizations see how they can merge the impact so that it becomes part of the core business. This is not a side thing. It is not separate from the business itself, but it is part of it. It's part of the core. And each activity generates both profits and impact. The second thing is that many people, we see this with entrepreneurs, with investors, with senior executives, people have an incredible intentionality to do good. They want to see the world becoming better. But this intentionality is something that they hold within themselves. And part of what we help them do is to translate it into an organizational DNA, into best practices and decision-making mechanisms that enable them to further expand their business and ensure that as they do that, they still maintain their impact mission. And the last thing is that impact has to be monetized. Once it is part of the business model, of the financial profit model, we can measure it, we can compare it, and we can make sure that we deliver a win-win for all stakeholders involved, for the entrepreneurs, for the corporates, for the investors, and for the consumers, as well as the planet.
As Omri mentioned, our focus is to enable all stakeholders to work together and develop and implement innovative and scalable impact solutions. Therefore, we lead cross-sector alliances with our partners. Our partners are startups, investors, multinational and national corporates, professional organizations and NGOs, and of course, governments. We support them in their journey to solving global social and environmental challenges. But in the heart of what we do, at the end of the day, we all focus on the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are the ones who are harnessing their talent, who are harnessing their out-of-the-box way of thinking and their creativity to do a better and scalable use of technology to really address social and environmental problems. And we try to see to it that those alliances that we are forming and those partnerships that we are forming are best serving the needs of the entrepreneurs who are really making the world a better place. Practically speaking, our activities and partnerships focus on different causes such as sustainable agriculture, supporting the aging community, harnessing AI to address humanitarian aid, accessibility, and health issues. After us will speak Raz from Microsoft, our AI activity with Microsoft. They just graduated yesterday in a big and a very, I think, emotional process here in Israel. And we do this through cross-sector alliances, again, either with corporates, with governments, or with large-scale NGO. More than that, we do two more, I think, very important things. 2030 Ventures is Tech4Good's arm to work with impact investors or those who intend to turn into impact investors and allocate funds to impact investing. And so we work with them to help them relate to a specific cause, build their investment strategy, and execute impact investment deals in startups. And the Israel Impact Summit, I think it's one of the biggest and definitely most exciting impact events that take place in the world. It brings together impact leaders from all over the world and entrepreneurs, and we try to facilitate a very fruitful conversation between all stakeholders from all over the world. On the screen here, you can see some of the organizations that we really had the privilege of working with in the past 6 years. And since we've launched Tech4Good, the Israeli ecosystem, the impact innovation ecosystem, has grown dramatically. Out of, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 startups in Israel, the figure is about the estimations are, like Ambassador Marina said, almost half of them are addressing to some extent one of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Half of all the Israeli high-tech is addressing social and environmental issues. A big part of them are actually measuring their impact and reporting their impact, and this creates a great mutual language for them to use with their customers and, of course, with investors. Universities around Israel are now, I think, all of them are running impact innovation courses, helping create the next generation of Israeli impact startups here in the ecosystem. We have dozens, I think, of incubators, accelerators, or hubs, all focusing on impact and specifically on impact startups. Some of them deal with specific issues or built around a specific topic, and others do much more and address the whole impact issue. And corporates, just like you saw in my previous slide, corporates are more and more engaged with our ecosystem, just like large international corporates have engaged the Israeli high-tech ecosystem in the past 20 and 30 years. And they are now here for their impact goals and to see to it that impact is embedded into what they're doing. And needless to say that the blooming of our ecosystem did not leave the investors behind. You've heard Ron before. They're, I think, the first and most significant international fund that is investing in Israeli startups. But I think but for a fact, the Israeli impact investment ecosystem is blooming these days. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of angel investors who are funding the seed capital of those startups. There are funds, and we see more and more multinational corporates who are allocating funds and investing in solutions that will help them achieve their impact and sustainability targets.
And we are now incredibly excited to bring our experience and our learnings from the Israeli case into Latin America, and even more excited to start this in Chile. So the program with Startup Chile is an incredible first step for us, which we are waiting for to better understand the status and the needs of entrepreneurs in Chile, so that we can provide the relevant solutions. But again, this is just a first step, and we really need and would love to discuss with investors, corporates, and impact leaders from the Chile ecosystem so that we can better understand and think together what could really kind of incubate and further expand the ecosystem so that it could grow from Chile to Latin America to the rest of the world. We have incredible faith in the intentionality that we've seen so far from people in Chile to embrace a new look, I think a new perspective on the world's problems and actually turn them into opportunities. And with that, we would really like to thank everyone who made this event happen. A big thank you to the team at the Embassy of Israel in Chile, to Hadar Shaw, and to Ambassador Marina Rosenberg. And a special thank you to our partners, Alex Horowitz, Yael Rubinstein-Muchnik, Michael Hayes, and Pablo Rossello. We are so incredibly excited to be working with you. Thank you so much.
And see you in Santiago.
Thank you very much. Hopefully soon, Omri and Anir, for sharing your experience, part of the experience, because we know there's so much more to share yet to come. And thank you for addressing also the power of partnerships as a great tool to drive, to help potentiate the growth of social and impact innovation throughout our ecosystems. So thank you. Toda Rabba. And our next speaker is Ras Bahar. He is Managing Director of Microsoft for Startups. Microsoft for Startups is a global initiative designed to empower startups around the world on their journey towards building great enterprises. It provides mature startups with tools, resources, connections, knowledge, and expertise to become successful companies. Ras is also an independent expert for the European Commission on the evaluation of proposals submitted to European research and innovation funding programs on entrepreneurship and innovation. And previously, Ras performed as the head of startup business development of Amazon Web Services for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So welcome, Ras.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me. So first of all, again, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's really exciting to see everybody kind of coming together for this such an important goal. I can definitely tell you, from our perspective that for me personally, and at least again the group here in Israel, last year was the first time that we've took proactive action to actually establish a formal program around impact. We focused on our end on 5 specific pillars, which were around human rights, accessibility, environment, cultural heritage, and healthcare. I have to say that, again, it was a little bit of shock in the beginning, just to get started, and it's an entire a vertical like that you need to learn and to develop the skills and the network. But eventually, and again, much to the great work that Tech for Good have done through our partnership together, we were able to build an acceleration program called AI for Good, in which we supported more than 13 startups at an early stage as they progress in their journey, supporting them on their business growth potential, on their impact use case, and then also around technology, specifically around the AI use case that each one have brought. impact and social responsibility is definitely one of the key pillars that we have at Microsoft. As Uncle Ben once said, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's definitely something that that we believe is the right thing to do. Microsoft's mission is to empower every person, every company in the world to do more, and as part of that mission statement, our team in particular, focusing on startups, we are taking proactive actions in order to make sure that we are supporting underrepresented founders and communities around entrepreneurship and development skills and technology. It's definitely something that it's a privilege almost to be in this kind of situation, and it's one of the things that at least I got to learn as I joined, as I progressed in this journey, was the amount of interesting companies and mind-blowing ideas of entrepreneurs that are truly trying to make the world a better place. And again, it's a humbling experience to work with such people that are taking that are tackling some of the most challenging topics that the world around us has to offer. And again, thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you very much, Ras, for joining us also and sharing these insights and your experience. So our next speaker is Pablo Rossello. He's a Chilean business administrator and multimedia communicator with more than 8 years of experience in planning, coordination, and management of social innovation and entrepreneurship, both in the public and private sectors. Former social innovation executive at Corfo, his first experience in social entrepreneurship was as a founder of 2 startups in the areas of health tech and citizen participation. Currently, he's the knowledge manager of Startup Chile, where he is responsible for the design, management, and implementation of tools that will increase the technical and strategic knowledge of the program's entrepreneurs. So welcome, Pablo.
Thank you very much, Yael. I think I cannot share the screen. If the administrator can allow me, please. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for this invitation. As Yael was saying, my name is Pablo Rossello, and I'm the knowledge manager at Startup Chile, and I'm here to talk to you about the Startup Chile model. But first, let's put things into context by asking all the people attending this webinar, how well do we know Chile? Some of you might say because of its wine, as it's one of the leading exports in the world, and you could probably argue the best wine in the world. Or perhaps copper, as we have the largest copper mines in the northern region of our country as one of the main pillars of our economy. Or even so, our earthquakes. But whoever has set up foot in our country has at least felt or experienced one of these 3 features. We're also blessed by having a very diverse country in terms of our landscapes, from the driest desert in the world in the Atacama Desert, or maybe the longest mountain range in Andes, and the longest shore in the Pacific Ocean, and also the cold region of Antarctica. And because of this diversity, you could say that it must be doing business on an island. But the way we have been doing businesses, it is very traditional by exploiting natural resources in copper and agriculture. But this is why not only the public, but also our private sector are looking to diversify our economy by introducing more and more technologies into the way we do things. So for that reason, in the year 2010, the Chilean government conducted a crazy experiment called Startup Chile. Due to the subprime crisis, the US had very strict immigration policies, which was an impossible conditions for their entrepreneurs to succeed. And this created a massive talent leak. And Chile did exactly the opposite. We opened our borders and welcomed those entrepreneurs aiming to create an ecosystem and also embed the culture of digital entrepreneurship. To make things a little bit clearer, Startup Chile belongs to Corfo, which is the National Development Agency, which is also part of the Ministry of Economy. But Startup Chile has not been the same it was 10 years ago. In the beginning, the goal was to change the mindset of the Chilean ecosystem and to create this positive effect of digital entrepreneurship. 5 years later, and more startup hubs were created in Chile and more startups as well. So we decided that it is time for a change, and we committed our startups to diversify and sophisticate the economy. So this is why we became the first government-run accelerator and one of the most big and diverse communities in the startup communities in the world. So what are the requirements to enter? We aim for high-tech based products or services that are technological either in their business model or their growth strategy, from everywhere in the world to impact Chile and to use our country as a platform for doing business in Latin America. We offer 1-year work visa and soft landing, a free co-working space, equity-free funding, perks worth more than $100,000, access to global networks, and also an acceleration program. Our methodology is what we call open acceleration. And this is where we secure education, support resources, and also connections for our startups. We invite everyone in the startup world, from corporates, governments, other accelerators, universities, and many others, to contribute to the ecosystem. And for our projects, we have a strategic focus on connecting them with our networks and resources. Also, we track their progress, ensuring that they have the skills and knowledge to perform in the market, while using communication, measurement, and also the power of our community during the program. And we're really proud of our networks and epic connections. So for this reason, we have created 5 different networks, which we believe are fundamental for this startup process, with more than 50 investors, 200 voluntary mentors, 180 corporate and government partners, more than 100 worldwide partners, and a network of more than 4,000 entrepreneurs all over the world. But what are our results so far? With almost 2,000 startups from 85 different countries, with 27.4 being Chilean founders and 72.6 being foreign founders, and USA, Argentina, India, and Brazil being the most numerous. And of course, our aggregated global sales are $1.2 billion and growing with every generation, and selling, of course, all over the world. And so far, we have created 7,000 jobs in Chile and almost 15,000 worldwide. And something we are really proud of is our portfolio valuation, around 2.1 billion, and also that 59 startups were acquired. But what happens in terms of impact? In the year 2018, Corfo created another experiment called Huella, and we included triple bottom line projects within our portfolio to see how well they performed with our current startups. Some of these examples is Service Senior. They use the gig economy to create flexible job opportunities for seniors by connecting them with other people and companies that need help solving day-to-day operational and administrative challenges. They currently have a database of over 6,500 seniors, and they have connected approximately 13,000 services, generating around 400K in revenue. So, and this year so far, up to July, they connected over 25,000 services and generated around 450K in revenue. And the impact numbers, this translates into $550,000 on income for the seniors and more than 150,000 hours of inclusion. And there's also Resilink, a sustainable management software for industrial waste, allowing companies and institutions to manage the suppliers, generating a digitalized circular economy model. They have 36 clients so far with more than 100 companies and 800 users in the platform, more than 1,300 operation on waste collection, and generating, of course, 177K in sales. And of course, the environmental impact is huge. By recovering 636 tons of waste, which translates into 1,200 tons of CO2 less in the environment. So as concluding, the WEIA program had 3 generations so far, but unfortunately, the program is no longer with us. But this doesn't mean we're not committed with impact, and we are seeking more and more ways to enhance our portfolio, not only but accepting impact startups, but also helping them to define their define their objectives, and of course, the intentionality towards sustainable development. And we know we are not experts on this area, and with so many methodologies out there, and unfortunately the WEIA program no longer with us, we feel the need to do something for our startups. And impact investment, of course, is a way for us to make a commitment, not only with our investors, but only for reporting the social and environmental impact for our portfolio, and also as a public policy. And this is a huge challenge for us, and we cannot do this alone. So this is why we started our conversations with Tech for Good, to ensure transparency and accountability, also for the public funds. And we dream of having aggregate data where we can clearly see the social impact of our startups. We know we have a huge challenge ahead of us, and we believe that this collaboration is the key to succeeding on this matter. Thank you very much. I'm Pablo Rossello.
Thank you very, very much, Pablo. And as you said, we're really looking forward to help you and help all of us achieve those goals with this partnership and this next stage of bringing Tech for Good to our ecosystem to build this partnership. So thank you. To honor the time and the schedule, we will end our session now. And we will send you to all of you who registered the link to access the video, the recording, and the contact information of all the speakers that allow us to do so. I hope everyone is okay with that. And thank you again to the embassy, to Mrs. Marina, our ambassador. Thank you to our partners in Israel, Omri and Nir. It has been really an amazing pleasure to work with you all of this month, and we're waiting for you here in Chile. Thank you, Ron, also for sharing your experience and this concrete data, of how impact investment can really build a case and be profitable and impactful at the same time. And thank you, Pablo, because it's also great to know we have a great partner to move forward with you as part of Startup Chile and Corto. Thank you, everyone, and we'll be probably meeting sometime soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
you.